Whenever you see something that doesn't fit what you know, a real scientist should get excited, not skeptical.
Well, I'm excited. This is episode 6 of Truth Paranormal. In this episode, I'm going to be showing you where some of the locations where ultra-terrestrial aliens live. Now, if you haven't watched any of my other previous episodes, ultra-terrestrials are basically, they look like aliens, they live on Earth, they've lived here for many hundreds of thousands or millions of years. They may very well be related to us or related to us, related to them. But they certainly look alien, and they may very well be alien in origin. They have built, or certainly brought with them, a very sophisticated alien AI system that does a lot of the stuff that we actually see around the world, like UFOs, most UFOs, all ghosts, Sasquatch, are all generated by this alien AI system, using clever trickery and the fifth dimension. So without further ado, let's get on to what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to show this map of the USA. Now, you might be thinking, why am I focusing on the USA? The USA has by far the best data when it comes to missing people. And it's the missing people that is useful, as they can track where the ultra-terrestrials live. Okay, it's not a one-to-one relationship, but these are people that go missing and are never found again. None of their clothes are found again, no personal possessions are ever found again. They are literally people who have disappeared off the face of the earth. So not to be confused with people that have been murdered. These missing people may have not been murdered, but they've been missing, in some cases for decades. And this is an analogy to help track down the locations. Okay, so this map here maps the cave systems in the USA, and if I just play it, you can see that in a minute it will just segue into where the missing people are. So do you see that? A very, very strong causality between where the caves are, these are natural caves, and where the people that go missing without any trace. So this is really a really important thing, and I stand on the shoulders of many other people that have done this research in making these connections. So obviously, most countries around the world have caves, but America just has better data about where people go missing. So that is, I've used that those missing people and the clusters of missing people to give you some idea about where the aliens live underground. Now, you might think, well, why would the ultra-terrestrials, why would that, if they existed, why would that match with missing people? Well, although the ultra-terrestrials have this very sophisticated alien AI system, they are, end of the day, flesh and blood, and they can be killed or hurt if a mob of angry human beings ever found out that hundreds of thousands of them lived under the ground that we stand on. Okay, so they try to hide themselves very well. They live in remote regions underground, may come up only during the night. They're well adapted for living underground. And so if a human being stumbles upon them, these are often hikers and walkers and stuff, rather than let that person scamper back to society and tell them all about what they saw and get the mob coming into their area, they will quietly either remove that person from the surface. Then they might keep them captive, might put them to work, or they might kill them, or they might eat them. We don't really know. But these people have gone missing, no trace of them after they've gone missing. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about the cave system. So if I play this next one, right, so this is just one cave, okay, Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. And let's hide that bar. So you can see that that cave work, the known cave work. If I just rewind that a little bit. So the main cave network, the known cave network, is this purple bit here. And then if I let it run, you can see that from ground radar and other modern day techniques, you can see just how vast this elaborate cave network is. And this is in just one place. And you might be thinking, okay, so you've got caves, okay. Now, not all caves contain aliens. In fact, it's fair to say that there are millions of kilometers of caves in the US alone. Only a small proportion would actually contain aliens. But before you see an alien, you will see a couple of layers of defense before that. So in the cave system, if you get as far as that, if you go to these areas that I'll list in a minute, if you go to those locations and you get into a cave, you might very well see what effectively are ghosts, okay? So these are ghosts designed to frighten you away, okay? Same sort of ghosts as you get in haunted houses. They are basically AI generated using the fifth dimension to make something appear in thin air. Okay, these are objects in the fifth dimension that are coming into our three dimensions, and they can look extremely solid, or they can look wishy-washy and ghosty or see-through. But these are generated to scare you away. So if you had a very brave character and you just carried on past the ghosts, you could very well stumble upon an actual ultra-terrestrial. Before that, you would have the Sasquatch or Bigfoot. This is the same sort of technology as ghosts. So these are created using the artificial AI system, and again put into the third dimension from the fifth dimension. But they can be very solid and furry objects. There's no restriction to what you can do with the fifth dimension whilst it crosses into our third dimension. Just like if you lived on a piece of paper and you lived in a two-dimensional world, you would, if you could put any object into a two-dimensional plane, and that object from your higher dimension would seem as solid and as real as you wanted it to. So once you go to these locations, you're not scared off by Bigfoot, you're not scared off by the ghosts in the caves. This is the sort of thing you would see. Okay, so if I just pause this, we've seen this video before. This is an ultra-terrestrial alien being interrogated by one of the US security agencies. You can see it's got a very big head, bigger eyes, very thin neck, a very small mouth, no obvious teeth, a small nose, perfectly adapted to living underground in low light levels. And as you can see, this one is suffering a little bit under the care of the security agency. This is another one peering through somebody's window, having a good look. Now, if you keep looking at the eyes, look how ultra-terrestrials blink. They can really open their eyes wide, massive eyes. But when they blink, you can see that they can actually make their eyes quite small. So they can adapt to all sorts of different light levels. Yeah, and as you say, its face is very movable, and its eyelids, eyebrows, very adaptable. You can see just how big those eyes can get if it wants to. Now, these black eyes may be some form of inserted shades of artificial film. You could put it in to make it all black. This is another possible ultra-terrestrial. It's very slightly different in head. The head goes much further back. Don't know if this is genuine or not. Obviously, it's difficult to say, but it definitely represents a slightly different type of physical being. Whether these are ultra-terrestrials or aliens, it's really difficult to say. But they seem to occupy the same behavior, the same locations. So it could well be that they are, two different types of species of ultra-terrestrial living together. Or it could be as simple that the female ones look different to the male ones. So these are for much more elongated heads going back, and pretty scary. I really hope this is fake, but if not, it'd be interesting to see whether that baby, when it grows up, has any kind of fear of aliens or not. So very, very interesting stuff. So it's just one of the reasons I wanted to get this episode out today is because really tomorrow is the start. Steven Spielberg's film Disclosure Day comes out. I think the eagle-eyed of you would notice that outside the film world, there's quite a lot of momentum now in getting more UFO files out in the public. We're sort of moving towards disclosure, but disclosure will take a number of different phases. Phase one is just really the public acceptance of UFOs and aliens, and not any further than that. But it will open up the whole subject to more questions. Once people are satisfied that aliens are real, then the questions will be, well, where did they come from? What do they eat? What do they wear? What do they listen to? What do they do? And all these questions will follow on. So make no doubt, it's a big event that we're living through, this part of history. This disclosure of aliens and UFOs is really just the first phase of many about our learning about our place in the world and our place in the universe. So I've tried to cover everything here. I'll now list on the page here the list of all the locations. Very briefly, most of them are in the US, and that's to say the US data is better. Got one in Australia. This is where aliens, the ultra-terrestrials, live. As you can see, a lot of them in the US live in national parks or national forests. This is not a coincidence. It's my firm belief that the US authorities, the very top end of them, are more than aware that these ultra-terrestrials are here. They've kind of created reserves for them without letting the public know they've done that. They are probably a protected species, as they should be. If they've lived here for millions of years, then we should protect them in the same way as we protect Aborigines and Indians and any other sort of minority race. But we should respect them. They've been here. If they do eat us, it's a very rare occurrence. It's quite obvious to me that they mutilate cattle for food, whether that's to have access to protein or whether they just like, cow stomach linings and cow tongues. I'm not sure, but the frequency and the global nature of cattle mutilation certainly points to it being used to be consumed in some way, and it could be a delicacy, or it could be just part of their natural diet. And so these locations in America are certainly, I think, protected. That the top authorities know that they're there, they're protected, and again, if you went there, you might not initially see anything. After all, it's just a forest. But if you stayed there for a couple of days, you'd certainly notice some degree of paranormal activity, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and maybe some orbs. And then if you went down into the caves, you'd certainly come across a few scary ghosts. And if you carried on, you might very well then find aliens. Beware, though, that you may end up being a missing person, because obviously the ultra-terrestrials don't want you coming back and announcing to the world what you found and where to find it. So obviously these are more for your information. If you went there, obviously don't go alone. Go with a big group of people if possible. Stay together, and just be conscious that you might just end up as being missing people. I've got one in Australia, which is, I believe it's kind of a joint base, so Americans and the ultra-terrestrials working together in that one. It could also possibly be a location of a crashed UFO that is too big to move, although that is not known for certain. And I'm going to set a challenge for my viewers, okay? If I can get one more subscriber, I'm going to try to come up with a list of alien locations in the UK. And it's not going to be easy because we don't collect data of missing people in the same way as the Americans do. It's actually very difficult to get any kind of national coherent data because it's all sort of stored in each force. So it's actually very difficult. But with ChatGPT and then Gemini, I believe now is probably the first time in a long time that you'd be able to sort of cross-correlate data and put together some sort of national thing. So if you want me to produce a list of UK locations where aliens live underground, all I need is one subscriber, one extra subscriber, okay? So do that for me. It can be just you who you're watching. If you're not subscribed and you're liking this channel, just hit that subscribe button. It's free. And then in the next episode, I'm going to be telling you where the aliens are in the UK. It's that simple. Right, thanks so much for listening. I probably left out a whole lot I wanted to talk about aliens generally. There's going to be so much more to talk about. I'm really looking forward to when the public at large find it more acceptable to believe in aliens and UFOs. I'm looking forward to the day when I can have sensible conversations with people who are currently skeptics and expand their minds further by talking about, now you know they exist, let's talk about where they live and what they do and how they do it. Thanks so much for listening, and goodbye for now. Goodbye.